This is the People's Court.
Well, good evening, everybody. So, if you're new here, like, share, subscribe. Even if you're a crook, you can hit the thumbs down. But like I promised the other night, when I did the other show, there's kind of like a part 2 based off of Carrier Assure. Right here was the show. If you guys want to afterwards, if you haven't seen that show, I highly suggest if you're a carrier or broker, especially the carriers, you better go watch that show, because what's being done to you, especially to the expedite carriers, I believe this platform has declared war. That's how I'm looking at it. You declared war on every single expedite carrier. And any broker that's using that platform with that bad data, I would rethink what you're using. Now, when I was getting ready to do this show, it's basically a lawsuit that was back in 2021. I'm going to go through it real quick. I'm going to read it to you. But a certain movie came to mind when I was reading this lawsuit. I don't know if you guys remember this movie. You remember this movie? The Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. You remember that movie? That's who this person reminds me of, is this character in this movie. So how about we get started? I start reading this lawsuit to you, and then I'm going to go through a few other things. It's not too long, the show, but I think you'll enjoy it. You know how I do my shows, and we're here in the Justice Hall, so let's get it rolling. This lawsuit was filed January 8th in 2021. Yeah, I know it's 3 years old, but I need you to hear what happened, because, you know, we like transparency in the show. In this way, maybe you can understand what kind of person this is that's running that platform and what was done, and why another vetting platform actually filed this lawsuit. So it was Carrier 411 Services, which you all know, most of you, versus Cassandra Gaines and Gaines Law Group, LLC. It was in the Circuit Court, 18th, Seminole County, Florida. There's the case number. You guys want to go look it up. I believe it was dismissed. I didn't want to dig too much into it, but, you know, lawsuits, sometimes they get swept under the rug, settled out of court, dismissed for whatever reason. We know how this game goes. If you're familiar with them, then you're familiar with them. Complaint comes now the plaintiff, Carrier 411 Services, Inc., by and through its undersigned counsel, and sues the defendant, Cassandra Gaines and Gaines Law Group, LLC, and alleges, 1, this is an action for damages in excess of $30,000, exclusive of fees and costs and otherwise within the jurisdiction of this court. Venue is in Florida. The plaintiff, Carrier 411 Services, hereinafter called Carrier 411, is a Florida corporation. Cassandra Gaines, hereinafter Gaines. Gaines Law Group, hereinafter GLG. Gaines is an attorney specializing in transportation law. Gaines has a nationwide practice which he conducts through GLG. GLG is vicariously liable for all actions of Gaines. Number 9, Gaines and GLG routinely engage in business in the state of Florida, provide services in the state, and engage in substantial and not isolated transactions in the state of Florida. Carrier 411 provides a software platform and is the leading carrier monitoring service used by thousands of brokers and shippers in the transportation logistics industry. In late 2019, Gaines, acting individually and through GLG, met with Carrier 411 at the offices of Carrier 411 in Seminole County, Florida. Thereafter, over the next several days, Gaines had multiple meetings with Carrier 411 in Seminole County, Florida. During the meetings, Carrier 411 shared with Gaines various strategic plans, business plans, and upcoming events. One of the events discussed with Carrier 411's upcoming user conference. The planned user conference was intended to be a workshop exclusively for Carrier 411 customers, consistently mostly of freight brokers, shippers, and qualified logistic industry professionals. The conference was intended to provide the customers up-to-date industry news and information through a series of presentations and seminars. After the meeting, Gaines indicated a desire to consult with Carrier 411 and participate in the upcoming user conference. To that end, Carrier 411 and Gaines began to forge a professional relationship. Carrier 411 agreed to allow Gaines to act as a keynote speaker in some of the presentations planned for the user conference, hereby giving her and GLG exposure to the customers of Carrier 411. I don't think these guys researched her enough and understood what was... I could have told you, if you would have looked at this person, what was going to happen. Based on the relationship of trust it had built with Gaines, Carrier 411 shared its marketing ideas, strategic plans, and other various confidential and proprietary information with Gaines, and allowed her unfettered access to the user conference. Stupidity. One of Carrier 411's plans was to audio and video record many of the presentations such that it would be able to use the material at a later time for education purposes in its marketing efforts and to otherwise promote the company's operations. Carrier 411 invested significant sums in not only setting up the user conference, but also securing the equipment to record the sessions. Gaines was well aware of the intentions of Carrier 411 and the fact it was incurring significant expense to coordinate the user conference and the audio and video equipment. Gaines, acting individually and on behalf of GLG, attended the user conference. The best part, I showed this in the last video. During the conference, Gaines approached the principal of Carrier 411 and demanded payment of $30,000. Demanded payment of $30,000. The fee had never been invoiced, demanded, or agreed upon. Although Carrier 411 fully intended to pay Gaines and GLG for its consulting services and efforts in assisting with the user conference, Gaines was advised that Carrier 411 felt it was inappropriate for Gaines to make a random demand for payment in the midst of the conference. I agree 100%. Gaines became irate with Carrier 411 and continued to demand immediate payment of the claimed amount. Now, if you watched the last show, this is my theory. And in the last show, she likes to... It seems like whenever she does a podcast or she's anywhere, she talks about drinking a lot. And anyone who's been around people that like to drink a lot or do drugs, this is like how they act. And I'm just making a theory here. I'm going to assume, in my opinion, that she was at this conference boozing it up like a lush and got into this argument and then tried to extort $30,000 from Carrier 411. So let's continue. When Carrier 411 refused to engage in a discussion during the conference, Gaines surreptitiously and without authority of Carrier 411 disconnected and disabled various audio and video equipment and otherwise sabotaged the recording of sessions. This is where I put in the thumbnail entitlement. And to me, this is criminal damaging. She should have gotten criminal charges. You're tampering with equipment for a conference that someone else paid for and set up. You demand $30,000, and then because you don't get your way like a spoiled child, you sabotage their equipment? This is unbelievable. Carrier 411 did not learn of the acts of Gaines until after the fact. By the time Carrier 411 learned of the actions of Gaines, it was impossible to duplicate the materials which were lost. Wow. As a result of the actions of Gaines, Carrier 411 lost not only the costs it incurred in setting up the user conference, but also the value it would have received from the use of the various videos as part of its ongoing marketing, training, and education efforts. This is like the evil queen, I swear. Don't get your way and sabotage another vetting platform. But it's just kind of funny because now you have a vetting platform. I think this was all a ploy. All conditions precedent to the maintenance of this action have been fulfilled or waived. Count 1. This is an action for damages based on trespass to chateau. The plaintiff realleges and reincorporates the matters contained in paragraphs 1 through 30 above as if set forth fully herein. During the user conference, Carrier 411 was in lawful possession of all audio and visual equipment. Gaines and GLG willfully, wrongfully, and without justification interfered with Carrier's 411 possession of the audio and visual equipment and otherwise took control of the equipment. The interference constitutes a trespass to Carrier 411's rights, use, and enjoyment of the equipment. As a direct and proximate result of Gaines and GLG's wrongful interference with the property rights of Carrier 411, Carrier 411 has suffered damages. Carrier 411 reserves the right to assert a claim for punitive damages upon a sufficient proffer. Wherefore, Carrier 411 Services demands judgment against Cassandra Gaines and Gaines Law Group, LLC, jointly and severally, for damages, plus the cost of this action and such other relief as may be deemed appropriate. Carrier 411 Services further demands trial by jury on all issues triable. Count 2. This is an action for damages based on breach of fiduciary duty. The plaintiff realleges and reincorporates the matters contained in paragraphs 1 through 30 above as if set forth fully herein. Based on the reputation of Gaines and GLG in the transportation industry, Carrier 411 trusted them and shared many of its proprietary ideas, strategies, and plans, and otherwise confided in Gaines. Carrier 411, I hope you get a hold of this video, and I hope you've learned your lesson, and you should understand that this person was a witch. I can call her a witch. This is my opinion. I don't care who likes it and who doesn't like it. But you fell victim of a crumball YouTube influencer, because that's what these type of people do. And then to demand $30,000. Like who? Who is she? Who is she? Gaines and GLG came to occupy a position of trust with Carrier 411. I would never trust her. Never. Unbeknownst to Carrier 411, Gaines and GLG abused the position of trust by gaining access to the audio and visual equipment and surreptitiously disabling the same. The actions of Gaines and GLG was a breach of the fiduciary duty owed Carrier 411. As a direct and proximate result of Gaines and GLG's breach of fiduciary duty, Carrier 411 has suffered damages. This is the same, demands a judgment. This is the lawyer. You guys want to send him the video? Go right ahead. I don't care. I think he'd enjoy it. So, on this previous show, not the one where I talked about Carrier Sherb, I believe this was the one right before, I exposed a group of different authorities. This was the show, Nonprofit Trucking Criminals. And when I do my shows, everybody's fully aware that I show docs, I show the corporations, I show the authorities, I show whatever I can dig up. But it's very funny to me and beyond crazy that I sit here and expose these dirtballs and then look. On her platform, that one of the dirtballs, Trans Global Express, has a C, while she basically gives all the good guys Fs. But people that are exposed for doing nonsense and involved in double brokering, a C gets better. In the same show, there was another one, and it was so weird because it tied back to an auto body shop. They were definitely engaged and tied in with double brokering. And it was this person, Crescencio Cortez. And look closely, folks, B+. And you mean to tell me that you should trust this vetting platform? This vetting platform is bonkers, and it's garbage. I will say it again, it's garbage. If you're trusting this vetting platform, brokers, you're screwing yourself, 100%. You better get back into the trenches and know who the carriers are, because this type of vetting platform is going to cause harm in the long run. Immediate harm to the good carriers, long-term harm to yourselves. Go watch that show, the Nonprofit Trucking. I've talked about these two companies that have a C and a B plus, a B plus. It's unbelievable to me. Unbelievable to me. And this high and mighty queen princess thinks she has a platform that's worth charging $150 a month for. You guys are throwing away your money. You're throwing away your money. Joe, I got to ask Joe. Joe, what do you think about this?
I'm sick and tired of ordinary people being fleeced.
Well, you heard what he said. You want to hear him again? Let's hear what Joe has to say again.
I'm sick and tired of ordinary people being fleeced.
Yeah, there it is. You got to put Joe in every once in a while. He's old and decrepit. We put him in once in a while. Now, let's discuss this. Discuss, not disgust. When someone agrees to help out with an event and then demands a large sum of money, such as $30,000, without any prior agreement, it can suggest several possibilities about their character or intentions. Here are a few potential characteristics or scenarios that might describe such a person. Opportunistic. The person might be trying to exploit the situation for personal gain. They see an opportunity to make money and decide to take advantage of it, knowing that the event organizers may feel pressured to comply due to the timing. Unreliable. Agreeing to help and then demanding unexpected compensation suggests a lack of reliability and professionalism. This person might not understand or respect the importance of commitment and prior agreements. Manipulative. They may be attempting to manipulate the situation to their advantage, knowing that the event organizers are in a vulnerable position and might feel compelled to meet their demands to avoid disrupting the event. Misunderstanding or poor communication. It's possible that there was a misunderstanding or lack of clear communication about expectations and compensation. This person might feel justified in asking for payment, believing that their contribution warrants it, despite the absence of a formal agreement. Greedy. I love that word, greedy. The demand for an exorbitant amount without any prior agreement can indicate greed. This person might be driven by a desire for financial gain. I mean, she did name her podcast show Mad Gains. Makes sense, regardless of the fairness or appropriateness of their request. Unethical. Uh-oh. This behavior can be seen as unethical, especially if they initially agreed to help without mention of compensation and then sprung the demand at the last minute. Lack of integrity. The person may lack integrity, showing a willingness to break their word or change terms without notice, reflecting poorly on their character. Desperate. In some cases, they might be in desperate need of money and see this as a last-ditch effort to secure funds, albeit in an inappropriate manner. Misrepresentation. If you notice so far, we had ethical and we had misrepresentation. Pay attention. Misrepresentation. They might have agreed to help with different expectations or with the intention of later changing the terms, suggesting a form of misrepresentation or bad faith. So, let's get into the courtroom. Now, we're going to put this, because she's a transportation attorney, she should know better. So, let's kind of go over this now with what has occurred and apply it to a lawyer's side. If a lawyer outside of their legal practice agrees to help with an event and then demands a substantial amount of compensation like $30,000 without any prior agreement, it raises significant ethical and professional concerns. Here's how this scenario reflects on the lawyer and what it might imply. Potential implications. Ethical concerns, professional integrity. Lawyers are expected to uphold high ethical standards, not just within their practice, but in their personal lives as well. Demanding substantial compensation without prior agreement can reflect poorly on their integrity. Exploitation. Such behavior can be seen as an attempt to exploit a situation which is contrary to the ethical guidelines that govern the legal profession. Reputation damage. Professional reputation. Even if the behavior is outside their professional practice, it can damage their reputation and trustworthiness, potentially affecting their career and client relationships. Personal reputation. This can also tarnish their personal reputation, as it suggests a willingness to act dishonestly or opportunistically. Potential legal ramifications. Breach of contract. If there was any form of agreement, even verbal, their demand could be seen as a breach of contract. Extortion or coercion. Depending on the circumstances, such a demand could be perceived as extortion or coercion, especially if it involves pressure tactics. Interesting. Conflict of interest. Dual roles. If they are acting in any capacity that could be seen as connected to their legal profession, there may be a conflict of interest, raising further ethical issues. Misuse of professional status. Authority misuse. Their status as a lawyer could be seen as an implicit threat or leverage, even if the situation is unrelated to their legal work. Reflecting on character and professionalism. A lawyer who acts in such a manner outside of their legal practice might be displaying a significant lapse in judgment and professionalism. This could be indicative of deeper issues, such as lack of professional boundaries. They may struggle to separate professional and personal ethics. Financial desperation. They might be in financial distress, leading to desperate measures. Disregard for ethical standards. Their behavior may reflect a disregard for ethical standards, both personally and professionally. In any case, this kind of behavior is concerning and should be addressed with care to protect both your interests and the integrity of the event. So, folks, that's the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I put a little research, little thought into it, whipped it together for you guys. That lawsuit was sent to me. I figured in this situation, since we're in transportation, and the person who the lawsuit was brought against is a transportation attorney who's currently running a vetting platform that's sinking good carriers like broken battleships. This is disgusting. This is morally, ethically, and whatever else you want to call it, wrong. Okay? This person needs to be put in check. So, will you people put this person in check? Are you scared because she's a transportation attorney? I see here that a great possibility, and I'm sure this will be sent to a very other nice transportation attorney. I see the potential here for a class action lawsuit. I think I repeated it in the last show. For all the carriers that are being wrongly graded with bad data. I don't even know how you can put a grading system in. You do not have the authority to do so. You hold no FMCSA office. You don't even have as far as I'm concerned, legit carrier authority. You're not a broker. So what the hell is going on here? Is this what you brokers are doing? You're listening to people outside. What you're doing here is allowing the hate to grow between carriers and brokers from a third party. You see it? I mean, you don't have to be a wizard to figure it out. This person is drawing a wedge in between relationships, networking opportunities, and proper business. And I think it should be addressed. I think you all should get together. Go watch the other show if you haven't watched it, okay? Because this is a problem here. This is a huge problem. And I want to just shout out to the supporters, the Axel team support, the brokers, my subscribers and everybody. And I already thanked the guys on the last show. I was very shocked. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Like I said, you support me and I'll do what I have to do. You see, I read very well. I understand things very well. I put together a nice show as best of my ability, okay, to present it to everybody. Nobody does these kind of shows because nobody wants to go against the grain, okay? I will go against the grain. I don't care. I've always been that way my whole life. I have no fears for these kinds of people. When these kind of people are trying to pressure another vetting platform for $30,000 to be part of it's sick. It's sickening. Like, who do you think you are? And that's why I said in the beginning, reminds me of that evil queen from Disney. There's nothing else that could be said, you know? And she is what she is. And I'll call her again, my opinion. She's a lush. She's a lush. She's a fallen YouTube influencer. She's definitely fallen. Definitely fallen. She cannot make it on YouTube. Trust me on that one. So, I'm going to skip any commenting. I'd like to keep this show so it can be shared properly amongst other people. Appreciate all of you people showing up. Let me just see. Got quite a few in here. Okay, everybody, listen. Enjoy your night. Think about what I said. Rewatch this if you like. Go back and watch the other show on Carrier Sure. And, giving good grades to crooks. And trust me, more is going to come. Not so much with Carrier Sure, but I'm going to expose a big bunch of those crooks who have good grades from her platform. It's sickening. And I believe there might be collusion. I truly believe there might be collusion because people are sending me stuff and things are matching up. And it's disgusting. People need to go to jail. People need to be held accountable. There will be transparency on this channel, on my shows. Whatever I can show and present to everybody, I'm going to bring it. You like? You don't like? I don't care. So let me know. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs down. Leave a comment. If you got any leads, axel.liveshow@gmail.com. But other than that, got to get out of here. People's Court is closed.
This is the People's Court.